I recently started making a video series called We're Not the Same, and the point of this series is to challenge the idea that a lot of people out there have that things on both sides of the political spectrum are more or less the same. You know, that there is misinformation coming from the left that is just as inaccurate and just as harmful as the misinformation coming from the right. That there are certain beliefs and social norms that can be observed in people on the left that are just as unhinged and just as crazy as certain beliefs and social norms that can be observed in people on the right. And I get why people want to think this. I get it. I really do. It feels intuitively like the more reasonable position to have. The idea that half the population of a country the size of the United States of America could be bought into an ideology that is more or less completely detached from reality and wrong almost all of the time, while the other half of the population is bought into an ideology that may be flawed and have problematic aspects, but is more or less in alignment with objective reality. That's a tough pill to swallow, and it just seems kind of intuitively incorrect. It feels like the more reasonable position, the more enlightened position, the more humanistic position would be to say, you know what, I bet that the truth is that both sides are wrong about some things and both sides are right about some things, and that reality lies somewhere in between the two. It's certainly a more comforting thought. So again, what I'm saying is it's okay if that's your position, and I understand how you arrived at that position, more or less. What I would like to see more often going forward from people who have this both sides position is an ability to demonstrate that. I need to see you demonstrating the misinformation that's coming from the left that's just as inaccurate and just as harmful as the misinformation that's coming from the right. Because I feel like what winds up happening a lot is a left-leaning progressive teacher at a public school who happens to be gay mentions the fact that they have a spouse or significant other who happens to be of their same gender, the same way that a straight teacher might mention their spouse or their significant other. And people on the right and centrists will say that this is the same level of harmful indoctrination of children as something like this. So that's all I'm saying is if you believe that things are just as bad on both sides, you should be able to demonstrate it. And that shouldn't be difficult. That shouldn't be a big ask. It's not at all hard for me to demonstrate on a daily basis how unhinged the right is. Clips like the one I just played are a dime a dozen. Clips of police officers being menacing sociopaths in uniforms who go around terrorizing and murdering people are a dime a dozen. Clips of right-wing politicians and talking heads spouting misinformation and unhinged conspiracy theories are not hard to find. If you are convinced that the left is indoctrinating children in public schools with critical race theory and gender ideology, you should be able to easily demonstrate that. You should be able to find me a clip of a bunch of children gathered around a non-binary educator with a blue mohawk and a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on, all crying and screaming at the top of their lungs, "Gender is a social construct!" If you believe that the left is just as oppressive to Christian people as the right is to queer people, show me the evidence of that. Just this year, the Republican Party has introduced 321 and counting bills of legislation that explicitly target the rights and freedoms of people in the LGBTQIA+ community. Find me one bill that Democrats have introduced that explicitly targets the rights and freedoms of Christian people in America. That really shouldn't be too much to ask. If it really is just as bad on both sides, prove it.